All right, friends, welcome to the Purpose to Profit Academy, the Expert Speaker Series. I'm very excited to introduce you to Joe Beck. Joe is the founder of The Sales Activist. Joe, welcome.
Hi, Tatiana. Thank you. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. And today we'll be discussing a very exciting subject to me, and I'm sure for so many entrepreneurs watching this, and it's about leveraging impact for massive sales momentum. Oh my God, that sounds incredible. Now, Joe, how do you differentiate this very traditional income-driven business model versus an impact-driven business model, and how that affects profitability in your view?
Sure. Absolutely. So, how we differentiate it is simply this. For many, many years, people have talked about the power of value-based selling. You sell something for a certain price point. The person that receives it gets the benefit times whatever factor they receive a return on the investment or the cost of what they're purchasing. And the value is what they get. And unfortunately, in the world we live in today, with so much activity, so many different things out there, and just a lot of noise, value has become commoditized. Value is entrenched in what really is a logical decision instead of an emotional one. So when we talk about impact, we talk about the impact that your product, your service, or your offering will have on your clients. What will they do with it? What will their life look like? How will their family, their business, their employees, all the things that mean something to them, what impact will it have? It's not about the product, the service, or the offering. Everything is really focused around impact. And the challenge we live in the world today is too many times people aren't patient enough to explore impact with people. They talk all about their own product, the price, all the things that are based in logic and not emotion. And as you probably know, people buy on emotion. They don't buy on logic. So we like to kind of flip the script and focus entirely on impact for people.
I love that. And impact really translates into the transformation we're bringing to our clients, right? It's like this vision of that transformed life or business or relationships, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's all about the transformation. At the end of the day, and I don't want to burst anybody's bubble, but people don't really care what we do. What they care about is the impact that what we do has on their life, on them. And sometimes people lose sight of that. So we try to remind them that impact is what makes all the difference.
I love that. Beautiful. Now, to me, impact is also a mindset, right?
Mhm.
So to have the right mindset to perceive our sales and business activities as a service to the world, as this transformation we're delivering to our clients. Can you speak a little bit about this mindset, that inner game behind the impact-driven business?
Sure. That's very, very important. So many times, when you're talking to people, we're human beings and it's difficult to filter out our own needs. And what we're really putting out to the world is a reminder that you need to be servant minded. You need to serve your clients, the people that you're trying to impact. And it doesn't matter whether you're trying to sell or whether you're trying to develop a relationship with somebody. It should always be about the other person. They should receive more than they have to give. And unfortunately, in the world we live in today, people are very jaded towards their own needs. And so the first mindset shift is to recognize that it's not about you. It's always about the other person. It's always about what they get, what they receive, and the impact it has. And you need to put yourself on the back burner and make it all about your prospect, your client, or the person that you're interacting with. And that's hard for people. It's a shift for many, many people because we live in this me generation, people running around taking selfies and videos of themselves. It's all about us, but really it isn't. It's all about the other person. And making that shift has a significant impact on your success. Not only does it give people the right understanding about who you are and what's important to you, but it positions you differently than the average person. Less than 15% of people that interact with somebody in a selling environment are memorable to their prospects. And the ones that are memorable are the ones that are servant-minded, that stand out and highlight impact. The ones that are not so memorable are the ones that sound like everybody else.
Absolutely. And as you speak about this mindset, I'm also thinking, mindset is right, like that shift in the mindset is right. But to me, it is also coming from your heart, right? Like perceiving service as an act of giving. And when
Mhm.
you give not from your mind, but from your heart, right?
Mhm.
Can you speak to
Correct.
that kind of heart giving energy as well?
Sure, absolutely. It's funny. The answer to that is in the questions that you ask somebody. See,
Yeah.
people can easily figure out how much you really care about them based upon what you ask them. You could
Mm,
have two very similar interactions, and one is very product driven and business focused, and another one is very focused on the individual needs, wants, and desires of the person you're talking to. And if you were to look at those two conversations, the one that resonates best is always going to be the one that's more personable, the one that connects to people. So what I share with people is you can't be afraid of getting personal. You can't be afraid of developing sincerity and opening yourself up and creating a positive, genuine interaction. That's what separates you from everybody else. That's what makes them remember you. And more importantly, that's what makes them want to look at you as their trusted advisor and resource. So, yes, it's very personable. It means something on a personal level to people, but it's also good for business. It puts you in a place where you're standing out from the crowd. The average person doesn't do that, Tatiana. The average person sounds very selfish, very focused on what they're trying to do. I've had clients say to me at the end of our interactions, and what do you do again? Because the conversation was so focused on them and their needs, we hadn't even gotten there yet. But you know what? Those people became some of my best clients because now they know how much I care about them. I wasn't talking about what we do or how I help. It was all about them. So that mindset shift, making it personal, developing a relationship, really getting to know that you care.
yeah.
You have to be sincerely focused on helping in every step of the way.
I love that. That was so powerful. Thank you, Joe, for
Yeah, you're
sharing.
welcome.
Now, when we talk about leveraging impact for massive sales momentum, is there a
Yes.
process behind it? How do you leverage impact to achieve that momentum?
Of course. Yeah, of course there's a process. So I think so many times people, they compartmentalize everything that they do and they don't realize that certain things just permeate everything that you work on. And impact is one of those things. And I'll just give you a couple of examples. How you approach somebody truly changes how they look at you, how you interact with them, how you may deal with them on a business level and create transactions. And when I talk about leveraging impact for massive sales success, it's important that you recognize there are three significant different types of sales that individuals make. And this is something that is so important as it relates to impact. There is your new acquisition sale, selling to somebody that has never bought from you before. Impact plays a major role there. Then there is the retention sale or the upsell of an existing client. And of course, that relationship you've established, the impact that you've uncovered is just pivotal when it comes to selling them additional products or services, again, which aids towards your growth and momentum. And then the third one that people don't like to talk about, but is a game changer for people that are really successful, it's what we call that win back sale, winning back a client that we've lost previously. And impact plays such a pivotal role in all three. When you ask somebody impactful questions and they share with you things that mean something to them, that truly resonates with them individually on a personal level, you can tap into all of those things in any one of those sales environments. It's extremely powerful for the person that struggles to figure out, how do I create alignment with my product and what my prospect needs? Because a lot of people struggle to do that. Like they're very narrowly focused. Impact tells you the path to take. If somebody says to you, Here is what's most important to me. Here is what impacts my business the most. Here is what we need most. They're creating a roadmap, a GPS for you to follow to lead towards helping them. And all you need to do is listen to the little voice that tells you what to do next. And that's the power of impact. If you really understand how to leverage it, and it's very process driven, you're going to find that 80% of the things that are being talked about are coming from the client. 20% are coming from you, but the things you're saying are so impactful. They get them to take action. Usually in many interactions, the client says to us at the end of all this, how can I get started with this? How can I start to do these things? Or we maybe have to ask them a very, very difficult closing question. And I say that facetiously. And the question might be, you just shared with me 5 things that are so important to you. You choked up talking about these things. I could see how important it is. And you ask them a question like this: would you let me help you make that happen? Would you let me help you do that? And just create a path towards them saying, yes, how do I do it? How do I make that happen? See, it's all about their needs. It's all about emotion. And when you do that, you're able to just fill in the blanks with what it is that you do to help them accomplish what they need.
I love that. I love that. It's all about tapping into the emotions, building that connection, emotional connection, and then closing with some key questions, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How do you tap into those emotions? Do you have some like key or secret questions that like open up your client to talk more about like what's important or maybe even deeper?
Sure. There's always a couple, and everybody has their own preferences. Some of the things that I like to talk to with people or talk about with people are things like, what are the things that keep you up at night? That's one of the questions that I ask. Or if there were 3 things that you wish you could fix within your business or within your situation, what would those 3 things be? And then once they start sharing and opening it up, then it's a matter of depth. See, for me, I just believe that you can never go too deep in those interactions. If somebody says cash flow is a problem for our business, could you please describe that to me? What impact is that having on you? Well, it's impacting our ability to pay our bills on time. It's impacting, in some cases, payroll. And you start having a true and real dialogue about the emotional toll it takes. See, and it doesn't just have to be negative. It could be positive. Let's say it's a positive. Let's say instead of it being a negative and making payroll, let's say we're talking about a $250,000 addition to the bottom line of the business. And you ask them questions like, let me ask you, if I slid a check across the desk from you right now and it was for $250,000, what would you do with the money? And then you listen to them describe it. And you say, well, that's great. What else would you do? And here is the trick. If there's one thing that I want to underline when it comes to impact-based selling, it's never about the first thing you talk about. I'm just going to use the example of that $250,000 analogy. It's not about the $250,000. It's what they do with the money and what else it creates. If that $250,000 creates 2 jobs, an additional $1.5 million in revenue, it adds peace of mind for the business owner. If it allows the business owner to take an extra vacation because they now have help in their business, that's what it's about. It's not about the $250,000. And that is what impact does to a sales process. When you focus on impact, price becomes less of a consideration. If somebody is sitting there and they now know, Tatiana, that decision to move forward gets them $250,000, that leads to 2 employees, $1.5 million of additional revenue, peace of mind, and an extra vacation, they start wanting to see that happen. Usually right in the interaction, they are saying to themselves, how can I do this? It's emotional. It's real. And let's just take it to an everyday example that most people can think about. If you've ever been out to buy a car and you go to a car dealership, they don't sit you down in the dealership to talk price first. They put you in the car. They make you drive it, smell the leather, play with the tech. And they do that to create an emotional reaction. And then they ask you questions like, well, what do you see yourself doing with the car? Where would you go? Would you drive with the top down? Would the radio be blaring? Like, they're creating that picture for you. And by the time you get back to the dealership, you want the car. So impact, it permeates every aspect to the sales process. And when delivered the right way, it eliminates barriers to success. It eliminates cost considerations in some cases. It overwhelms competition because 90% of the people in the world won't communicate that way. Only 10% will sell truly using impact.
I love that. It's about painting that vision for them.
Correct.
That
Absolutely.
vision where they see themselves, they feel it, they can smell it, they can taste it, right?
Absolutely. I could tell just by when you were listening to my story, you're thinking $1.5 million and an extra week vacation. You wanted it, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's about. That is the interaction. And here's a trick as well. It's not you saying it. It's always when your prospect says it that makes it real. When they start talking, the more they talk, the more you win. If they tell you this is what's important, they are now moving it from their subconscious to their conscious mind. And the next step is reality. That's where they want it to be. So you get them talking about it, then they start thinking about it, then they want to make it happen.
Yeah, I love that. Beautiful. Now, what mistakes entrepreneurs should avoid when they take their clients from point A to point B in their sales conversations?
Great question. So the number one mistake is avoid impatience.
Uh-huh.
When you're selling with impact, when you're truly trying to make it servant focused around helping your prospects or your clients, don't jump the gun to talk about your product or your service. Too many times people will be in the middle of a conversation and they'll say, well, I have something that can fix that, or I know how we can deal with that. Be patient. Be patient through the process. Many times the client will get there on their own. It'll be a much easier, controlled environment and more likely to close in a positive way if they make that decision for themselves during the process. But if you try to force it because you're impatient, that will usually kind of torpedo what you're trying to accomplish. So, the best recommendation was to be patient and get them talking more about themselves. And the more they talk, the more you win. You don't have to share that much, about those things. It comes up when necessary versus, some people are wired that they think they have to tell their entire story. They have to tell them everything about their product or their service. And really what happens is you turn your prospect off by doing that because they hear what you're saying and what you're telling them is it's all about you. And you need to approach that in a completely different way. So be patient, underline that in your notes. That's a big one for people. I know it's hard in today's world, but when you're patient, you're more than likely going to win.
I love that. Patience. And also, I think, is listening to what they're really saying, right?
Yes.
Patience and listening. To me, it was such a game changer, just not trying to interact and, chime in, just really listen.
Yeah, it always is listening. And, one of the things that I tell people all the time about professional selling, and it doesn't matter whether you're dealing with somebody who's been doing it for a long time or somebody who's brand new, listen to what your prospects are telling you. And they'll tell you what direction you need to go. They'll give you the answers that you need. Too many times people don't listen and they miss those cues. They miss those situations. And unfortunately, it gets awkward there. And one of the things that I've learned over the work that I've done, and I appreciate you not pointing out my age, but I've been in selling for over 35 years and I've personally generated, a little over $500 million in sales transaction volume. But what I'm most impressed by, over the years, I've helped train, coach, or mentor like 3,500 professionals and entrepreneurs. And the one thing that I would always enforce for people was, listen intently. It's less about what you say and more about the tone and the emotion behind how you say it. Don't get caught up on individual words. Don't get yourself thinking you have to be perfect. Just be real. Be a human being. Start there. The rest will take care of itself. Too many times people grab a sales book and they think they have to have 118 different, objection handling techniques and 25 closes. And It's just not true. What happens normally is people fail for two very specific reasons in selling. One is they don't have a duplicatable and scalable client acquisition system, how they go about finding clients. And the second is, and this is one that trips up a lot of people, is their sales process is too complicated. It's not easy to follow. They're one of those book readers that goes through and they think they have to have every single answer. It's just not necessary.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us
My
and with
pleasure.
everyone watching this and recording. Now, how can people work with you? And if there are any additional resources you can share with all the entrepreneurs watching this video, please share with us.
Absolutely. So for everybody that's watching this video, I wanted to make sure that I shared something special. So my gift to you is a free copy of my ebook, How to Triple Your Sales Results in 6 months or less. And the other part of that, it's without spending extra money on advertising. You know, it's about spending no money on advertising. It's just about real organic methods to improve your sales results. So everybody that's watching this can get a copy of that free ebook. And if you want to get in touch with me directly, it would be my pleasure to talk with you about any challenge you're having with sales. You can find me on my website, which is thesalesactivist.com. You just go up across the top banner where it says contact. You can connect with me there. You can schedule time on my calendar to talk about sales challenges. But I promise you this, we're going to talk a lot about you and not about me.
I love that. Joe, thank you so much. Any final words of wisdom for all our amazing entrepreneurs?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I want everybody to hear, and I want you all to take this and just absorb this, no matter where you are in your sales journey, just know this: there is no such thing as a born salesperson. The people that are successful in selling are people that invest time and energy in perfecting their craft. Sales skills are no different than any other skill out there. It can be cultivated, developed, honed. Take the time, invest in yourself, keep working on it, and you'll find great success.
So beautiful, Joe. I'm so grateful for this discussion. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom. It was amazing to have you. Thank you.
The pleasure was all mine, Tatiana. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. And everyone, I will see you in the next video. Bye.